Some ideas Japan has come up with are so clever that the moment you encounter them, you immediately wonder why the rest of the world hasn't done the same. Toothpick dispensers that deliver a single toothpick hygienically without touching the ones you leave behind. A food bag sealer small enough to fit in a kitchen drawer that reseals any open bag in seconds. And sink strainers that fit perfectly into the angle of a kitchen sink to catch food waste without blocking the drain or requiring a separate colander. Japan doesn't just upgrade things, it refines them so completely that the original version starts feeling like an unfinished one. Today we're counting down 14 Japanese ideas that instantly upgrade your life. Watch until the end because number 14, a rice roll shaker that makes perfectly shaped rice rolls with zero effort, is one of those things you'll immediately want in your kitchen the moment you see how it works. Number 1. Toothpick dispensers. Japanese toothpick dispensers are small desktop units found on restaurant tables and at shop counters that dispense a single toothpick through a small opening when you press a button or tilt the unit, delivering one toothpick at a time without your fingers ever contacting the ones remaining inside. You press, one toothpick appears, you take it. The rest stays sealed inside the container untouched. Standard toothpick holders are open containers where multiple fingers reach in repeatedly throughout the day. The toothpick you take has been in contact with every other toothpick that has been touched and returned, or touched and considered, by every person who used the holder before you. The dispenser eliminates that entirely. The mechanism is simple enough that the unit costs almost nothing to produce. The hygiene improvement is immediate and obvious. Japan looked at an object that exists in restaurants worldwide, identified the specific problem with how it works, and redesigned it so the problem doesn't exist anymore. Number 2. Corner sink strainers. Japanese corner sink strainers are triangular mesh baskets that fit precisely into the corner angle of a kitchen sink, catching food waste, vegetable peelings, and debris before it reaches the drain without occupying the flat base of the sink or requiring a separate colander to be set up and cleared away after each use. The triangular shape uses the corner space that a round or rectangular strainer leaves unused and positions the basket where water naturally flows toward rather than across the center of the sink, where it interrupts normal use. You rinse vegetables, wash dishes, and prepare food in the sink normally. The strainer catches everything without being in the way. When it's full, you lift it out, empty it, and replace it in seconds. Japan identified the part of the kitchen sink that was always available but never used and put the most useful possible thing in it. The corner was empty. The strainer fits it exactly. Number 3. Super Nintendo World. Super Nintendo World at Universal Studios. Japan is a fully realized physical recreation of the Mario game world, where every surface, every sound, every interaction, and every detail has been designed to make the environment feel like you walk directly into the screen. The Mushroom Kingdom architecture is built at the scale and color accuracy of the game. Piranha plants emerge from pipes. Question mark blocks respond when you hit them with a wristband that tracks your interaction with the environment. Power-ups are collected physically. The theming extends to the food, the merchandise, and every staff uniform in the area. It's not a themed zone with a few rides. It's a complete environment that works as a game you physically inhabit rather than a location you visit and observe. Japan built the most faithful translation of a video game world into physical reality that has ever been attempted and produced something that makes every other theme park theming decision look like it wasn't trying hard enough. If you're enjoying this so far, go ahead and tap like. It tells YouTube you want more of Japan's clever everyday innovations. And if you love discovering things you didn't even know existed, hit subscribe so you don't miss the rest of this list. Trust me, the next ones are even smarter. Number 4. Easy Sealer for Food Bags. Japan's Easy Sealer is a compact handheld device that runs along the open edge of any plastic food bag and heat seals it shut in a single pass, creating an airtight closure that keeps contents fresher than any clip, fold, or twist tie alternative manages. You open a bag, take what you need, run the sealer along the top edge, and the bag is sealed. The device is the size of a large marker pen, runs on batteries, heats up in seconds, and works on virtually any standard food packaging plastic. The seal is genuine. Air can't re-enter. Chips stay crispy. Coffee stays aromatic. Anything that degrades after opening degrades significantly more slowly behind a heat seal than behind a clip that allows air movement with every slight shift. Japan made a product that solves the opened bag problem permanently, fits in a kitchen drawer without taking up meaningful space, and costs little enough that buying one requires almost no deliberation. Number 5. Shredding scissors for documents and food. Japanese shredding scissors have multiple blades running parallel to each other that cut a sheet of paper or food item into several strips simultaneously in a single motion, destroying sensitive documents without a shredding machine and preparing certain foods without a board or knife. For documents, you feed the paper through the blades, and it comes out in strips fine enough to make reconstruction impractical. For food, the same action cuts spring onions, herbs, dried seaweed, and other thin ingredients into uniform pieces in a single cut. The scissors require no power, no warm-up time, and no machine that sits on a desk taking up permanent space. They store in a drawer, work instantly, and handle both tasks with the same tool. Japan produced a scissors variant that does two useful things the standard scissors cannot and made it available as an everyday stationery and kitchen product rather than a specialist item requiring a dedicated shop to find. Number 6. Ryokan Inn Experience with Kaiseki Meal. A Japanese ryokan is a traditional inn where the entire experience, from the architecture to the bedding to the meal, is designed around the principles of Japanese hospitality. And the kaiseki dinner served as part of the stay is one of the most considered dining experiences in the world. You arrive to a room with tatami flooring, a futon laid out by staff, a yukata robe waiting for you, and an in-room bath or access to a communal onsen. The kaiseki meal is a multi-course dinner, where each dish reflects the season, the region, and the produce available that day, presented in dedicated ceramics chosen for the specific food they hold. Nothing about a ryokan stay happens by accident. Every detail is considered and every interaction follows a hospitality philosophy that treats the guest's comfort as the only priority throughout the stay. Japan preserved a form of accommodation that makes every other hotel format feel like it's optimizing for the wrong things. Number 7. Chopstick Making Workshops. Japan offers chopstick making workshops at craft studios and cultural centers, where participants carve, shape, and finish their own pair of chopsticks from a raw wooden block using traditional tools under the guidance of a craftsman who has spent years working with the material. You select your wood, work through the shaping process from rough block to finished utensil, sand through progressively finer grades, and apply a finish that seals and protects the wood for daily use. The pair you leave with was made by your hands, using a process that has remained largely unchanged for centuries. The workshop takes a few hours. The chopsticks last for years. The experience of making something functional from raw material with hand tools produces a connection to the object that no amount of purchasing the finished version provides. Japan built a cultural workshop industry around its most iconic daily utensil and made the process of making one accessible to anyone willing to spend an afternoon doing it properly. Number 8. Kuzukiri arrowroot jelly noodles. Kuzukiri are translucent noodles made from kuzu arrowroot starch that are served cold in a bowl of ice water or warm in a light broth, with a texture that sits between firm jelly and a soft noodle, and a clarity that makes them look like glass threads running through whatever they're served in. The flavor is almost entirely neutral, making Kuzukiri a vehicle for whatever dipping sauce or broth accompanies them rather than a dominant flavor in its own right. Served cold with black sugar syrup as a dessert, or savory with a dashi broth as a starter, the same noodle works across completely different contexts. The visual appeal is immediate. A bowl of ice-cold Kuzukiri is one of the most visually striking things Japanese cuisine produces, and one of the least known outside Japan. Japan has been making noodles from arrowroot starch for centuries, and producing a result that looks like something a food designer invented last year. Number 9. 3D Billboards. Japan operates some of the world's most advanced naked-eye 3D billboard installations in major urban areas including Tokyo's Shinjuku and Shibuya districts, where massive curved LED screens display animations engineered to produce a convincing three-dimensional effect visible from street level without any glasses or device. The effect is achieved through a combination of the curved screen geometry, high-resolution content produced specifically for the display angle, and animations that use shadow, perspective, and movement, calibrated to the viewing distance from the street below. The results are striking enough that crowds gather specifically to watch them. A cat emerging from the screen, a wave breaking outward, a character stepping through the surface. The content is produced by specialist studios whose entire output is designed for this specific format. Japan turned a standard advertising format into a public spectacle that stops foot traffic, generates international attention, and makes the urban environment genuinely more interesting to move through than it would be without them. Number 10. Kickman soy sauce bottle design. The Kickman soy sauce bottle is one of the most studied examples of functional industrial design in the world, and the reason is simple. It pours exactly the amount you want, stops when you stop, and never drips down the side. The spout geometry was engineered specifically to control flow rate and prevent the surface tension break that causes liquid to run down the outside of a bottle after pouring. The narrow opening limits the volume that exits per tilt. The angle of the spout directs the pour cleanly away from the bottle surface. It was designed by Kenji Ekwan in 1961 and has remained essentially unchanged since, because nothing about it needed changing. The design solved the problem so completely on the first attempt that subsequent versions have only refined the aesthetics rather than the function. Japan produced a soy sauce bottle that works so well, it became the reference point for how a condiment bottle should function and has been in continuous production for over 60 years. Number 11. Knife sharpening services at supermarket entrances. Japan installs knife sharpening service points at the entrances of supermarkets and homeware stores, where a trained sharpener or an automated sharpening machine will restore a kitchen knife to a working edge while you shop. So you drop off a dull knife and collect a sharp one on the way out. The service costs a few hundred yen per blade. The turnaround is the duration of a supermarket visit. You bring the knife that's been struggling through tomatoes for 6 months, hand it over, do your shopping, and leave with a blade that cuts properly again. Knife maintenance is one of the most consistently neglected aspects of home cooking in most countries because the alternative to a sharp knife is a dull knife rather than no knife. And a dull knife still technically works. Japan made professional sharpening available at the place people already visit weekly and removed every barrier to doing it regularly. Number 12. Themed manhole covers unique to every city. Japan's municipal engineering departments commission unique manhole cover designs for every city and district, with each cover featuring local landmarks, seasonal imagery, regional wildlife, or cultural symbols cast in precision-manufactured iron that reflects the specific identity of the area it sits in. The covers are collected, cataloged, and sought out by dedicated enthusiasts who travel specifically to document regional designs. Rare or particularly beautiful covers from demolished infrastructure are preserved and displayed in museums. Some cities sell miniature replicas in tourist shops. A manhole cover is one of the most functional and deliberately unnoticed pieces of urban infrastructure. Japan decided that something present on every street in every city was worth designing properly and commissioned artwork for each one. The covers still function identically to an undecorated one. The difference is that the street looks better, the city's identity is visible at foot level, and an object nobody was supposed to notice became something people travel to find. Number 13. Sweet potato trucks. Japan's sweet potato trucks are roving vendors that travel residential neighborhoods, playing a distinctive recorded melody from a loudspeaker that signals the truck's presence. Selling stone-roasted Japanese sweet potatoes called yaki-imo from a wood-burning oven built into the vehicle bed. The sweet potatoes are roasted slowly in heated stones inside the oven until the skin caramelizes and the flesh becomes soft, dense, and intensely sweet in a way that baking or steaming doesn't replicate. You hear the melody from inside your home, go out to the street, and buy one wrapped in paper for a few hundred yen. The truck is a fixture of Japanese autumn and winter in the same way that certain smells or sounds become inseparable from a specific season. The melody is recognizable to every Japanese person regardless of age or region. Japan kept a roving food vendor tradition alive in a modern city environment and produced a seasonal street food experience that couldn't be replicated by a fixed location even if someone tried. Number 14. Rice roll shaker. Japan's rice roll shaker is a cylindrical container you fill with cooked rice and fillings, seal with a lid, shake for a few seconds, and open to find a perfectly formed rice roll ready to eat. Without the hand technique, the moisture management, or the practice that making onigiri by hand requires. You layer the rice and filling inside the cylinder in the correct proportions, seal it, shake it to compress and shape the contents, and remove the lid. The rice has been compacted into the cylindrical shape of the container, with the filling distributed through the center. You eat it directly from the shaker or press it out onto a plate. Making onigiri by hand produces inconsistent results until you've done it enough times to develop the correct pressure and shaping instinct. The shaker produces a consistent result from the first attempt because the container does the shaping work. Japan made one of its most eaten daily foods producible by anyone with rice, a filling, and 30 seconds. If you want to see more amazing things Japan is doing better than the rest of the world, then like and subscribe. And make sure to watch the video on your end screen, it's packed with even more life-upgrading things.